Special edition of Chopping It Up with a live version. We got some guys now. It's usually just me and one other person. So I'm going to start off from that upper corner with Kevin Carter. Kevin and I have known each other for a long time NFL player, two-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl winner. Kevin does it all, the philanthropist. And I also have Harvey who I played against going back to my freshman year in college when he was a senior at University of California. Harvey was a longtime Buck, played a long time in the league, was a college coach, has just done it all. So 5-time Pro Bowler there. I've got Jeff Mad Dog Madden, also strength coach for over 30 plus years with Rice is where I got to meet Jeff Madden. And then moving from Rice, he went to Colorado, won championships there, and then the University of Texas. So we've got a really good crew here. And Brian Jones is going to join us later, and we're going to bust his chops. So y'all just wait for that too, because BJ is always the one trying to get somebody. He's going to be late. Mad Dog is going to probably have him running some sprints. So guys, I've talked to each one of you individually, and there's so much going on in the world today in sports, but it's kind of been superseded because we don't have any sports. So Mad Dog, I'll go to you. What's the state of America and how have things been with you and your house, and how are things happening with the state of America from your perspective?
Well, the state of America, in my perspective, probably be a little bit different than some other folks because, we've been sequestered in place. They told us to stay down. Austin is back up on the charts pretty high on this COVID-19 thing. So, we're wearing masks everywhere we got to go. Everybody wearing masks and washing their hands. It's interesting to see, how we're trying to bring sports back into play, as quick as we can, especially professional sports as well as collegiate sports. And it's also very interesting to see how many of these kids are coming up positive on their test, and it's kind of scary when you look around and you see that LSU has 30 plus kids. Oklahoma State, has a bunch of kids. There's Texas has close to 20 kids that have the virus. So I mean, it's kind of hardcore seeing what's going on in this world. When the virus first started, they talked about it was going to be for folks that were older and a minority population. But now I see it's hitting a bunch of young kids, and they hadn't been as socially distanced as they're supposed to be. So it's really a tough thing seeing that happen. The state of racial situation and injustice that's going on out here right now. I grew up in the 60s, and this has reminded me of the 60s so much. I just think we just need to have the one solid message going forward to what we need to do. I'm kind of excited to see that, our white brothers and sisters are jumping there in the middle and helping us, getting in the middle of it and trying to at least point out the racist things that they see. There's been a nice group of them going on. There's been marches everywhere, all over the world. So it's a different world, but it's one that we're going to have to find our new social norm to what it's going to be, and sports is a big part of that. If we can get the relationship that you guys had in the weight room and in the locker room, and get that team bond going with everybody to where everybody, no matter what shape, color, size you are, love each other and put the work in and everybody for a common goal, and that's to make the best of America and learn how to love each other and hate each other, we'll be all right.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, I'll go to you on that. Thanks, Bad Dog, for that. Kevin, give us your thoughts. You and I had a show earlier, but we've talked a little bit since then. Give me your thoughts on the state of America and what you see with all the things that are happening.
From the, you kind of have two crazy scenarios going on at once. If you said that you've got a global pandemic going on and you've got a deadly disease that's gonna affect, a very small number of people, relatively speaking, but to me, I don't know, 120 1,000 and counting is a pretty significant number. But when you're talking about, global pandemics and panic as far as that goes, trying to reopen the economy, everything that's going on politically, that would be one thing. You could pretty much put that on one side and have it wrapped up like a nice, gift wrapped package. But then you bring in the whole, civil rights and that whole struggle. To me, civil rights comes to a head when people's awareness meets the level of brutality, meets the level of violence, meets the level of, just empathy as well. So, two very different things, but going on both at the same time. It's really a crazy time that we're living in right now. And then, here we are talking about, trying to bring sports, back and trying to bring sports into that equation with those two crazy things that we just mentioned. So for me, I've got a son who's home, a college athlete, is a tight end at Dartmouth University, Dartmouth College, and Zion is home right now. He's working out at home. I'm trying to up his collective football IQ and trying to get him up to speed. I'm his blocking dummy. I got my shield out there and everything, and we're watching film. And but it's not the same. Yeah. This camaraderie, this esprit de corps that we all had. And when I see Hardy, the funny thing is, you see Hardy, and Hardy's got that jersey over his shoulder. It's Cal. He's this mild-mannered guy, smart guy, and I get that because I'm somewhat mild-mannered as well. And I'm, I consider myself somewhat intelligent, but Hardy's like really smart. When you're around him, he's intelligent. He's a linebacker in the huddle that made all the calls, made all the adjustments. Yeah. He was in control. Yeah. When I was in the Pro Bowl, in 99, after the 99 season, and we're in the huddle, and this is when I got introduced to Hardy Nickerson. Okay, I'd shaken his hand a handful of times here and there, but I'm in the huddle, and he says something. I don't even remember what you said, Hardy, but Hardy comes and hits me as hard as he can with his it was a face mask check. And everybody, that's what they do in the huddle. They're Tampa Bay, and they're, back in them days, there was like 4 or 5 of them in the defensive huddle. Because, they had one of the best, if not the best defense in the league. And so they all know this is coming. Derek Brooks is laughing his butt off. Warren is next to me. Warren is laughing at me, picking on me, saying, dummy. You say, but that won't happen again, but those stories, that love, that esprit de corps, that can't happen right now because of what we're going through. You talked about it, Jeff, the whole, all these kids testing positive. One of my son's best friends was one of the kids that had to come home from K-State because, they had 30 or so of them that tested positive. So this is a crazy, 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 wild time. Yeah. This is a time for prayer, for empathy, and for voting.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Hardy, we got to bring you in. And Hardy and I have known each other a long time. And I told him, I was joking with him. I said, I played against him as a freshman. Ken, Harvey, and he were on bookends, and they were really good. They didn't have much of an offense, but their defense was really good. And Hardy, and getting to know Hardy, like you said, Kevin, really mild-mannered, just very thoughtful guy. But the first introduction to him was he would not stop talking. He talked the whole game, and Ken Harvey was worse than him. I was like, man, do you guys ever stop? But I understood his passion for the game, and I said that it bears itself out. We'll talk about kids and all of them that have been home with us. But Hardy, I want to get your thoughts on the state of America and kind of what that looks like for you. And being a Cal guy, I'm a UCLA guy. There's always some social consciousness out on the West Coast, no matter where you go to school, but in particular, those two schools.
Yeah, like echoing what Kevin and Mad Dog have said, we're in some different time. It's a different time right now. Every day seems to be a new adventure. From what you read or what you follow politically every day on a day-to-day basis, it just seems to be totally out of the ordinary. And then, of course, like Kevin said, you pile things on top of each other, such as the police brutality, the racial injustice, racial prejudice. You know, we're in a. I think with all that coming together, we are at a very unique time in this generation. A time where if we do things right, we can affect change and have some really good change for the good. You know, and I think as Mad Dog said, those are things that we've got to focus on. And for me and my family, we have I think emotionally we've pretty much run the gamut. From the pandemic, not knowing the uncertainty behind that, not knowing, man, you know, it just changed everything. Simple things like going to the grocery store, all of a sudden, you know, you're putting on gloves, you got a mask on. I'm wearing a cap that covers everything, got glasses on and a mask and everything. And then, you know, you're worried about, hey, wait, you know, people getting too close to you. You know, social distancing was, you know, first, and then of course, you know, this just dealing with that has been an adventure. You know, worried about that, and then with what has happened with George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery, and you know, it has really, you know, really heart-sinking, saddening.
Well, I want to, yeah, and Hardy, you hit the nail on the head, Hardy. It's been tough, and I'm going to ask all of you guys that because the first thing I thought of is, you know, getting home safely. I think all of us have had that conversation with our grandparents or great grandparents or father, and now we're having it with sons and daughters. And that was the next thing that I wanted to come to you, Hardy, again on is how was that conversation? Because you have a son, and Hardy, you know, plays in the league, and then you got two daughters. You and your wife, Amy, how was that conversation with those kids? Because they are young adults, and we all have that mix. What was that like when they saw the video and they had discussions with you and you had discussions with them?
It was heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm.
You know, of course, my wife and I, we've always had the conversations with our kids about police and police brutality. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles, where, you know, police, you know, when I was growing up, if we were on the street playing ball in the street, all of a sudden cops pull up and we're all laying on the ground, or we're all with our hands on a car, and they're asking us who we are, you know, being profiled. So we've always had that discussion, but just the conversation, the seriousness of the conversation hit with our kids about how concerned we've always been. Like, hey, when you're going someplace, call us first. You know, my son playing in the league got pulled over in Cincinnati, and cops come pull up, and we've always told them, hey, if you ever get pulled over, call one of us, so we're on the line and we hear the conversation. You know, so we've taken precautions like that, and you know, it just for them, it helped reiterate what we've been preaching to them about. Hey, it's not about being safe. We're trying to save lives here, not have anything really bad go on, because, you know, the truth of the matter is, you know, police brutality is real, and
Yeah,
and that's a very serious thing.
Mad Dog, you've had, you know, not only your sons but yourself play college football, but you've had so many other young men that you've mentored through that. Being a strength and conditioning coach, I always say that's the pivot point of every organization. It's the heartbeat of any program. So wherever you've been, I'm sure you've had these discussions about kids wanting to transfer, kids upset but what are your guys calling you and saying to you when this is going on, along with your children as well? It seems to be, it's a hot topic. It's a discussion that we all having with our friends, families, and loved ones. But what has that been like for you?
Well, it's been very interesting, and the phone's been blowing up pretty much because you think about it. I have a once a week call with probably about 30 or 40 of my guys from Carolina, and I got a same call with another day with the Colorado guys, and I got another one with about 20 to 30 of the Rice guys. So back even in your area. So the good thing about it is they trust you enough to ask you questions and try to say, what should we do, or how is this thing gonna break down, or what do you think, coach, at least. And I've also have just like yourselves, I've got 2 boys, and my boys have been with me everywhere I've gone, and now they're men, because they were born in one's 33 and the other one's 29, so when we had to pull all together, I pulled them back to the house because we got plenty of room, and I got my grandbaby here, my granddaughter here, and she's been here since right before, May, right when everything first kicked off. So we're all here getting on each other's nerves, but loving each other at the same time, but also you got a better chance to protect them. We go through the whole thing about police and how to do things. And one thing, I don't know if you remember, Buck, even when you were back at Rice, I've always had a host of police officers that were there, and when I got married, I had 7 or 8 of those guys in my wedding, and detectives and Secret Service guys, and so I've had a great relationship with the police department as far as training them and helping them, and that's every city that I've been in. So it's kind of disheartening when you see how some of those other guys are treating people, and the rough thing about it is every cop is not a bad cop. When we went to Colorado, there was 20 something guys in jail when I took the job, and I was fortunate enough, in the 4 years I was there, not to have another one get put in jail, just because of the relationships of how you work along with the police. And that's a small population, because that population deals with athletics. Now, when you're out here in the real world, like I am right now, it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. When they recognize who you are, they treat you pretty good. But when they don't, you're just like another guy on the street. And fortunate enough to talk to them about yes sir, no sir, and do whatever the heck they say. Don't question them. Keep your arms, your hands up. And so they can see every move. If you ask you for whatever they ask you for, you better make sure you got it before you ever walk out the door to get in your car. So there's a lot of things that happen out there, even when when you're on different scenes and you see things happen. It's what's good is if other people are speaking up and watching and videotaping, it helps. I've got cameras for my kids' cars now. So it goes up in the front and it shoots inside the car and it shoots behind you. All you do is just turn it just slightly. When they come up to the car, it's almost like having a thing they have to wear now, but it'll be on. As long as the car is on, the video's rolling. So, there's a lot of different things you have to do that you don't want to do, and I tell my guys, when I say my guys, are the guys that I've coached in other cities and at other programs, to train your children, help your children, protect your children, and the other thing you have to protect them from is we got a lot of guys that have multi relationships. They got kids with that are mixed kids. Whether they're black and white or black and Hispanic or whatever they are, it doesn't make a difference. They're kids. So you got to make sure that you protect them and let each one of them know if you got one drop of black blood in you, you're black in other people's eyes. So therefore, when they come to you, you better act the same way the young black kids got to act. I tell my guys when they go into places, if something happens in that group, first people they're going to come to is going to be the black folks. So you got to make sure that you are smart, protect yourself, and don't do anything stupid out there to get yourself in trouble.
Yeah. Hey, so we're going to take a short break here. Kevin, I'll come back to you when we come back. We're chopping it up with Buck, the live edition. I'm glad you could join us. Hold on. We'll come back on the other side and bring it right back to you.
How you guys doing? It's Artavius Scott here. The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, you know, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. And I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. You can go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get you a drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, if I got something like that, I can just go.
No sugar, no crash. Thin Energy. Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love. Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available. Visit painstopcbd.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
How you guys doing? It's Artavis Scott here.
Live it. Thin Energy.
The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, you know, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. And I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. You can go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get you a drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, if I got something like
We'll have Brian Jones, BJ will join us, but when he comes late, we're going to bust his chops like always. We got to do that. So before the break, we were talking about, having your kids at home and doing those things and all the stuff there. Kevin, I wanted to come to you on that because I know you had talked to me before about Zion and having those conversations and having those with his friends and guys that are coming around because you're working out with them and keeping him in shape. What has that been like for you to get that experience, even though you want him to go to school and have that experience as well, being home and being able to counsel him and you guys bounce things off of each other?
I probably need to Google who said that no man knows what's a blessing and what's a curse. But a wise man said it a long time ago because, and it's true because, him being home right now is the safest place. Like you said earlier, Mad Dog. I mean, having your kids close, but what people don't know and what people out there within the sound of my voice need to understand, living with the reality of having to deal with having to know how to deal with the police in that way. And, and that's just one small part of, racism in general. I mean, we could spend all day diagramming, and I'm not going to go down the individual ways that, racism exists, but I've raised Zion with that awareness. You know what I'm saying? Like as a Black man in America, you have to have that awareness. As a man of color and a large Black man, you definitely better be aware that people are aware of your size. My son,
your presence when you show up.
Yeah, my son was a 15. Yeah. Look, listen, okay, I'm going to give you one scenario, and I'll shut up. I'll give you the mic back.
No, go ahead. That's why we're here. My
thing is this, man. I had a 15-year-old who was a ninth grader. He was 6'5". He was 200 pounds. He's a big kid. No, he was when he was 15, he was probably about 185 pounds. He was a lanky, tall kid, but big kid. But I had to make him aware because by the time he was 16 years old, he was 6'6" and over 200 pounds. Okay. When he graduated high school, he was 235 pounds and he was 6'7". Okay. he had to know that when he encounters anyone outside of my home, they are not encountering a 17-year-old kid. He is a 6'7", 235-pound black man. And that's what he had to be aware of, and that's what he had to know. The fact that he has to be aware of that in America, the fact that I have to be aware of my size when I'm in a public place because of how I make people feel. I mean, you know, all those things rolled into one, man. Right now, yeah, I'm glad that he's home so that I can have those discussions. We can talk out, you know, all those different things that have happened, you know, how we're going to proceed, you know, our game plan. You know, you have one game plan as far as the university, you got another game plan as far as, you know, the football programs at these different colleges, but we have another game plan just as Americans. We have another game plan as Black Americans. We have another game plan completely that has to do with the global pandemic. So there's a whole lot going on, and, you know, blessings and curses. I'm glad that he's home right now because I have that little bit more time of extended parenting that I think, you know, would do my heart good, because of course he ain't gonna stay home. You know what I'm saying? The first chance he gets when this thing lifts, man, he's gone, you know? So, you know, and you know how boys are, Hardy, you know, Mad Dog, you know, they, you know, they fly the coop and get out. So yeah. So I'm thankful that he's home right now.
Hey guys, one thing too, when Kevin was talking about that, we all are pretty large men. We walk in the room, there's a presence that you have as an African-American man, whether you play football, whether you are, whatever it is you do. We just happen to be fortunate, all of us, to do that. But the other question is, it's interesting to see so many young guys at different places, at Florida State, at Oklahoma State, at Iowa, at Texas, at, you know, all these schools all across the country, finding their voice. I mean, tell me, Mad Dog, I'm gonna come to you on this one, because whether you're in the NFL or college football, we always had guys that would speak up. There would be guys in the locker room that would speak up. But this time there's a unifying force between these young men, whether they're in college. I've even seen it in high school, but college and pros is really where I want to look. And since you've been a strength coach for years, Hardy, you were a college football coach, you were a football coach in the National Football League. Kevin, you've been around this game. But Coach, I wanted to come to you because I know you have seen this. What's been the difference with these young men versus what we would have to do when we were coming up and guys that you worked with in the past?
Well, the climate is what makes the voice even so much more stronger, you know, and the fact that these kids aren't putting up with crap, you know, and things that we did and we had to listen to when we worked, they're not listening to it. You know, my son said, you know, Dad, you know, you did a great job. We honor you and everything you've done. But the bottom line is they don't like the history of things, you know, and the fact that the history is seen still every single day, it irritates them. You know, it used to be like when I was at Texas and some of the other schools, that we had the councils and the committees that if a kid had a problem with something, he'd bring it to that. We'd handle it, take it to the head coach or to the athletic director or the president or whatever, and we went as a committee, as a group, to do it. These kids now, you know, as shown in the past few weeks, you know, they have enough power that they say, I'm not playing. I am not going to represent this university as long as this, and this is going on. You know, as long as there's injustice here, as long as things happen on campus. I went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, you know, and I went in late 70s, you know, and to the early 80s. And that was Tennessee. You know, my first week of football practice, the Klan walked down the middle of Main Street, you know, and I was scared to death because I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, you know, and they told me if you go down south to one of them schools, they're going to get you, dog. They're going to get you, you know, so it scared you to death when you see it. And then you see it, you know, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people walking down the street, you know. I stayed up on the 5th floor and stayed there, you know, so I have an understanding of how that felt, you know. But nowadays with these kids, they're bonding together and people are backing them up. And I think most of it came from, I'm not gonna say all of it, most of it came from watching the death. You know, when George Floyd went down and the officer postured himself over top of him like a lion on top of his prey, and he had his hands in his pocket, you know, and he was alternating his weight from left to right to put more and more pressure on the neck and more pressure on, so he couldn't breathe, you know, and just the arrogance of it and looking at it, you know, like, yeah, I did this, you know, what you gonna do? You know, I think that made a huge difference in these kids. And that's one main one I hear him talk about. I hear him talking about Brianna and the no knock, you know, busting the door down and shooting. And the one cop was shooting from the street. He shot 10 times in a house, had no idea who was in there or what was going on. You know, so there's a lot of things that, you know, go on. The guys, I'm losing my thought pattern right here, but when the guy was running down the street and the one guy was following him and they end up shooting
Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmaud Arbery, they shot at him, and then when they got up on him, they put a couple 12 gauges in him. You know, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, and when these kids see that, these kids don't want to be that particular person. Because like I said, you know, when it goes, I am Ahmaud Arbery, you know, I am Breonna Taylor, you know, and you put the I am in front of those folks' names that lost their lives. I mean, it could be any one of those kids at any time, and those kids realize that, you know, so that's why I think they got even more power to step up. You know,
Yeah.
I watched my guy, Boyer, who's the Army Ranger that went with Kaepernick. When Cap took his knee, you know, he was one of them to say, hey, man, you know, take a knee instead of sitting on your butt when the national anthem's being played. So, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, you know, but I was proud of him for going out there and getting a relationship, standing there with his Army Ranger outfit on to say, hey, this guy's not disrespecting the American flag. He's not disrespecting everybody that has, you know, fought for this country. You know, he understands that. He's just trying to bring attention to, you know, police brutality.
Hey, Doug, I'm glad you brought that up because Hardy, you were in the league. I think you missed cap at San Francisco by a couple, but you were still in the league during that time. So that's one piece that you have. You also have a son in Hardy who played college ball and now in the NFL. Tell us a little bit about that and from your perspective and being a counsel to those young men that you've had, whether it's college football, NFL, or whether it's your son who's a football player.
I think you know, the biggest thing for me in terms of dealing with the youth and my son and my daughters as well is listening and hearing them out. You know, hear them talk about the pain that they're feeling behind what they're seeing, and then taking that and then helping them find ways to you know, express themselves and whatnot. Going back to what Mad Dog said, for these young guys, they're you know, and young kids out there today, social media is big. The social media is giving our youth a platform to express themselves, and they have taken to it, and with shooting the videos to getting their thoughts out there, you know, and that's been huge. That's something that we didn't have in our generation.
Right.
You know, who knows? You know, of course, someone had a camera when Rodney King was beaten by police, but to see it videoed from, you know, the whole incident with you see Ahmaud Arbery gunned down. You see the cops sitting on George Floyd. You see that, and then you have reactions to that immediately with people expressing their disgust. It's disgusting seeing that cop on George Floyd's neck. Disgusting. And so having,
it is,
you know, just being those ears to hear it, and then, you know, helping them process what they've seen and helping them express themselves.
Yeah. That's spot on. And Kev, I want you to spin that a little bit forward, because I think also too, if you think about it, you know, we don't always think about it from the female perspective, but you and your wife, we all, you know, we're all married here, but you and Shima having conversations with Zion about this, and what we talk so much about the young men or the young women that are both caught up in this with police brutality, but just from the perspective of our wives and mothers and folks like that, how does that relate to you and when you think about this?
Oh, when I think of my wife, in that perspective, she's probably like any woman, like any mom, like like all of our moms and aunts and grandmas and everything else. Probably the fiercest voice is your mom or your wife or your aunt or your grandma, and for me that's no exception. Her voice is, she's a social worker by trade, so and that's what she does now. She works for Children's Home Society, and she counsels family and kids, and she's a social worker, and it's really heavy lifting when it comes to helping with helping people manage, and Department of Children Family Services and stuff like that. I mean, this is the heavy lifting in our society. This is trying to make our society better from a social justice fight. So her perspective is one of very in tune with who we are, and also not just what we've seen. Obviously, what we've seen is very graphic and very violent, but also that social work talks about the integrating systems, right? It's not just one thing. There are so many things that are that are interwoven and overlapping that are the cause of problems. And from her perspective, there are some things that are very simple, and there are some things that are very absolute. Like, talking about, I guess it was a big deal, I guess, in that community that racism was declared a social emergency. It was a social emergency because it alters the way we perceive people. It alters what we do, how we shop, where we go. It affects our relationship with the authority that's in place, with the police. And now when those atrocities get unearthed and everyone sees it, and now everyone's outraged, and so it affects the balance. There's so many things pulling. Like I said before, first thing I said was, there's one thing over here and there's another thing over here, but and I think the problem has gotten so complex, from that perspective. So I'm lucky to have her, because she has a very calming voice that kind of cuts through and is able to help make sense of that. And I'm thankful that, that she's there as well, because our son, how else is he going to know how to go back into this new world and to this new norm that we're all living in, from a pandemic standpoint, and also from a race relations standpoint as well. And like you said, Mad Dog, I mean, and you said it too, Hardy, our kids are different, and and I think because they didn't see so much of that brutality, it's almost like it took a break for a little while, and we were distracted by, hating people that were in the Middle East, and we got distracted with different things, and there were different things going on in the world. But I think, that perspective of your wife, your mom, your grandma, that's one of the most valuable perspectives there is, because those are the people that, that will fight for you, probably the hardest of anyone I know anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, guys, hearing that from all of you guys. Before we go to break, I just have to think about my mother and my wife. And my wife was real good about telling me, understand what happens to you guys and the fight that you have, but think about those that don't get to come home, and the mothers and the aunts and the grandmothers and the cousins, the females that have lifted us up, that have been lioness while we've been cubs. So that's the part for us when we think about this, the brutality of it, and how it is against our women. We need to be as strong for them as they've been for us for all these years. So we'll take a short break at Chopping It Up with Buck. We'll be right back.
How you guys doing? It's Artavius Scott here.
Live it, then
The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, you know, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. Yeah, I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. Go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get you a drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, when I got something like that, I can just go.
No sugar, no crash. Thin Energy. Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love. Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available. Visit painstopcbd.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
How you guys doing? It's Artavis Scott here.
Live it. Thin Energy.
The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, you know, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. Yeah, I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. Go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get you a drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, when I got something like that, I can just go.
No sugar, no crash.
All right, we're back with Chopping It Up with Buck. You see another person on your screen next to Harvey Nickerson, Kevin Carter, Jeff Mad Dog Madden, myself, Charles Arbuckle, and got another guy we got to let us join. And he's late, but he said he's got a reason, and we got to give him a hard time. But Brian Jones, my good buddy from way back, West Texas, came out to hang out with me when we were in high school. We went to UCLA for a couple of years, and he went to Texas, played in the league. He's been all over everywhere. So, Brian, you know, we were talking before you joined about all the things that the college football players and now the NFL players have been able to have a voice. And we were, you know, different opinions with the crew, but what is your take on that? With all these young men, all these different schools, you can name one almost everywhere in the country. They're speaking out now. University of Texas, that's, you know, your alma mater. UCLA also, those guys there. Tell us your thoughts on that as you join us.
Well, obviously they're feeling more empowered these days. And if you look back in our past and go back to the civil rights movement, there was young folks leading those movements. Yeah, it was Dr. Martin Luther King and you had Rosa Parks, but the meat of those movements were the young folks, the John Lewises of the world. You remember John Lewis and the march through Selma and getting hit over the head. And here you are as a stalwart in the U.S. Congress. So these young folks are taking ownership. And what's very disheartening to me is that I was marching 30 years ago when I was at the University of Texas because of some racial incidents there. And yet here, 30 years later, these young men and women are having the march. So how much progress have we made? Now, clearly, there's not segregation to speak of, but there's still systemic issues that are prevalent in our society. And I love the fact that these young folks are taking ownership. And also, if you look at these movements, it's 50-50 black and white. And that's what needs to happen for change to occur in our country. So I'm hoping this is that true inflection point where not only athletes, but also our society at large is taking notice and they can't stand this anymore. And lastly, I'll just say, sports has always been at the epicenter of change in this country. You go back to those consortiums led by Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Jim Brown back in the day, and even prior to that. I mean, you had Jesse Owens, you had Jackie Wright, you had Paul Robeson way back in the day. And so sports has always been the catalyst for change. And these young men and women understand the leverage that they actually possess currently, because all they have to do, and I said this a number of years ago on our Inside College Football show at CBS Sports, I said, these young men they're gonna collude one day and say, hey, we ain't showing up on one of these Saturdays, and see how much change happens repeatedly. And Missouri went through this.
Yeah, exactly.
And so just show up, don't show up one of these weekends. And we know money rules the world. And these cats don't show up, a lot of pockets are going to be hurting, including mine.
Yeah, well, all of us, including yours. Hey, Harvey, I want to come to you on this. There's a lot of talk about football possibly taking place, not taking place. What's your thoughts on that? Because we're starting to see now, not only in the college level, but at the NFL level, you're going to start seeing some guys that test positive. And how are they going to handle that? Because there's no perfect bubble. We can't just put bubbles around these people and say, you're not going to get sick.
Yeah, there's no, like you said, there's no perfect bubble. And I think we're in a huge state of uncertainty right now. Not knowing, I don't think we even know enough about the COVID virus at this point. With no vaccine, there's no telling what the effects could be on these student athletes, and to put them in situations where their health could be compromised, I think is a bad choice. So when you talking about having games, let's back up. Practices, meetings, on-field stuff. When you're talking about a football program, you're talking about 85 scholarship athletes at the Power 5 level and another 15 to 20 walk-ons. You're talking about over 100 people, then staffing of about maybe 50, in some programs. Yeah. You're talking about 150, 160 people that you've got to quarantine, you got to feed, you got to take care of them on minute by minute. Yeah, I just, it's with the way that the virus is spreading here in California, they're saying the upward slope is in a vertical line right now, this is in the last week or so. So as you look at that, if you're at Texas, are you going to want to come? Is that school going to come to California and play right now? There are issues that still have not been ironed out. You got players reporting to programs. You got programs reporting that they've got 20, 30 cases of coronavirus. It just doesn't make, to me, it's as if there's more to the story than not telling us the whole thing. Can I make a point? Can I just piggyback what Harvey just said? Because let's
you're going to do it anyway, so go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin knows this. He works with me.
Yeah.
So
conscious stream always, but
let's
go
get
ahead.
a little bit intimate. We have one of the premier strength and conditioning coaches.
That's who I was going to.
Right. So, but I'll real quick, Mad Dog. So, Kevin, let's get a little bit more intimate. So, in that weight room, who's going to spot me when I got 400 on there, right? I mean, so you're going to be compromised, not just out there on the field, not just in practice, not just in that locker room, but even when you're preparing, you're in your preparations to even go out there on the field with the rest of your teammates. And in no more intimate spot than, it's my guard dog joins, no more intimate spot than that weight room.
Right.
Yeah, Doug, I was going to ask you that because have you ever seen anything quite like this? And BJ brings up a good point. Who's going to be there? Are you doing it in small groups? What are they trying to do now? Because we know they keep saying we're going to come back, but each school has been very reluctant to kind of tell us what coming back looks like and how they're going to quarantine people if you have 30 or 15 or 20. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the way they're doing it is they are breaking them up into smaller groups, and they're trying to keep them on, most of the teams now have platforms that you do all your training on, and they're trying to keep individuals on that one particular platform. So if you're group A and then BJ's in group B, that's where y'all will stay for the rest of the time. I
like it like that. I only have to be next to him, but go ahead.
But every time every time you touch the bar, though, you know, you got to make sure that bar gets disinfected afterwards. You know, the hard part about it is, because, you know, guys like to chalk up and do that kind of stuff. You know, it's difficult. You know, when you get when sweat and perspiration is out there, they still don't know how this thing is passed. So therefore, if they're saying that you can speak and pass it, or you can cough and pass it, or you can yell and pass it, why would it not be passed through sweat? You know, so I mean, because that's perspiration. So the hard part about it is you got to keep those guys in line. When you take them out in the field, they've got to be a certain distance from each other. You know, so there's no more tight huddle. There's no more, you know, I do a set, you do a set, I do a set, you do a set. You know, there's no more team lifting. You know, so I mean, the hard part about it is just getting them prepared. You know, and what happens is when you don't have a preparation day to know exactly when they've got to be there or who you're going to be training that day, because if they're checking their temperatures before they ever walk into the facility every day, you don't know who's going to be positive or when they are. Part about it is you take your temperature today, you move to a rally last night, you're okay. But 2 or 3 days from now, what are you going to be? You might be positive. So everybody that you pass, everybody that you got with, everybody that you spent at that given time, they're all possibly positive. You know, so that means they got to shut it down again. You know, so I mean, just like you know, you said something about Kansas State a few minutes ago. You know, there's a young guy right around the corner that's a freshman going in, Deuce, and Deuce's dad used to coach at Texas, Chris Vaughn, and you don't know whether they're coming or going because his 3 roommates, one of those guys tested positive, so he got to come back home too. You know, so it's going to be that way for a while until we get it all set.
So KC, when you think about that, NFL, I mean, they've already canceled the Hall of Fame game. I know that, you know, and we watch a Major League Baseball now with the 60 or 62 game season. You know, it's going to be interesting. What are your thoughts on that, especially from the NFL level or college football? Because it seems like, you know, we're going into uncharted waters. We don't know, but everybody says you got to do this, you got to do that, we got to play. I mean, I'm at a loss. That's why I'm asking you guys, what's going to happen with football?
I don't know. I mean, not being able to forecast how the disease is going to run its course. I mean, we don't agree on it. It's not a political thing. It's a matter of pure facts and science. You know, and so we don't have a centralized plan or game plan or whatever, and we haven't made that much, enough headway, you know, in figuring it out. So if you and I, as ordinary everyday people, so far removed from, you know, the research and some of the true knowledge of what's going on, you know, if we don't have a working understanding of what we're dealing with, then we don't know what's going to happen down the road. I think baseball, you know, is going forth with, you know, an abbreviated schedule. One of my neighbors is one of the in the front office for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and you know, they're talking about doing things from a hockey perspective, but you know, they have a different issue. They're not outside; they're in arenas, you know, and it's like, so, you know, and they're smaller and they're more intimate, and it's like, okay, so there's different scenarios, and I think trying to prepare for the possibility of having a season is what everyone is trying to do. You know, trying to, you know, distance and train and everything else, and you know, and if you're fortunate, if you're at home or if you're in a group or if you can train and, you know, get that preparation, that's a great thing. But I think everyone's kind of going into it with the anticipation of, hey, we're gonna postpone things and move things back a little bit. My son's at Dartmouth, and they've had talks, you know, Buddy Tevens and all the other Ivy League coaches have spoken about possibly doing an abbreviated just Ivy League schedule. So they have a 7-game schedule against the other Ivy League schools, and that's it. You know, usually they have a couple of, you know, Patriot League games that they also play as well, or different opponents. But so all of this talk, and basically they're all contingencies based upon what we don't know.
Yeah. Going back to, since you got on, BJ, I wanted to ask you this, and you guys all can chime in. How long will these coaches, whether it's NFL or college, stay woke? I mean, we got a lot of folks that walk around now saying, they want to be a part of Black Lives Matter. They want to be a part, but we all know you guys have all been recruited and sat with your sons or relatives and listen to the recruiting pitch, right? I think some of this is about recruiting. I'm not sure if it's sincere. I want to get your opinion, because some of this stuff is disingenuous when you tell me you don't know what certain things are, or I got to listen. You've listened to these guys for a long time. You've been recruiting in these people's homes for a long time. BJ, I want to get your thoughts on that, because I know it's one of the things that burns me up when I don't hear coaches speaking up, and now they're speaking up. How long are they going to do that?
Well, I think a lot of them were ignorant to what the plight of the players in their locker room. So that's just the truth of it. They never really have taken an interest. Just look at Oklahoma State, what's transpired there over the last week and a half. And here's a coach, Mike Gundy, that was truly detached from his football team. There are reports that he didn't know the name of certain players. He has a player collapse. Yahoo is reporting that he didn't even know the kid's name and move the drill, which we're all used to. We're old school ballers.
That means you take the ball, you move it 10 yards,
right.
and you keep practicing.
Keep practicing by the trainers tending to so-and-so over there. But at least our coaches knew that so-and-so's name. And so, there are a lot of coaches, administrators who are late to the party, but now they're being forced to educate themselves on the plight of those players in the locker room, on the plight of those administrators, those who work next to them, whether it's in sports or outside of sports. A lot of people now, and this is one, I guess, the advantages of everyone being at home as a result of COVID-19. Everyone sat there and had to focus in on what was happening to George Floyd. This has been happening in the Black community forever. So this isn't new to us. We felt this pain. And for a lot of us, we've just been conditioned to deal with it and shake our heads and internalize it and move on. But now the whole world has taken notice. So there is no turning back. I believe this is that true inflection point where this country changes, because if it doesn't change after what just transpired with George Floyd, what just transpired with Ahmaud Arbery, what transpired with Breonna Taylor and others, Rashard Brooks just here, if it doesn't change after all this has happened, it's going to be in a world of hurt. My grandma used to always say a hard head makes for a soft ass. Well, America has a hard head, and she's going to really feel it. And all these people complaining about looting and rioting, as I said, on the piece we did at CBS Sports, they romanticize all that rioting and looting at the Boston Tea Party way back when. Those were patriots, true patriots. Well, these people who are out there protesting and marching, there's only a small fraction who may be doing things of the criminal element. But America needs to take notice. This is an inflection point, and there's no turning back. As others have said, it's a movement, not a moment, and we've got to hold these people's feet to the fire. I'm trying to do that. Everyone needs to do that, because I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired, man. I mean, this is just too sad, and we don't want our children's children to have to deal with this down the road. It needs to stop right now.
Yeah, so willful ignorance that's really there, willfully ignorant of what you already know or you don't want to know and you choose not to. Harvey, Kevin, Mad Dog, you guys jump in, because I think this is a topic we all know so well. We all have seen those guys from a standpoint stand in front of us and just tell us things that are just flat out lies, or flat out you just don't want to see it. And that's the hard part when you're dealing with this situation now. You got people that are saying, I'm woke, I'm paying attention, I'm working with you. But then there's others that are still saying, I don't know, maybe he shouldn't, or she, it's always maybe this. And that's the part that frustrates a lot of us more than anything. Mad Dog, Hardy, Kevin, one of you guys chime in, because I think this is a topic that really hits the core of all of us.
You can go ahead, Kevin, or Hardy. I'll come back to it.
Well, it's as you stated, it's a situation where you have coaches that sit in front of kids, sit in front of families, recruiting them, making promises. But at the same time, we see now that those have been a lot of empty promises, where and when the rubber meets the road, they'd rather resort to what they're comfortable with, but not with what they should be doing in support of these players that they brought sometimes across the country to attend their schools. Support is big for a coach. I think for a coach right now, with 60-70% of his team being Black, African American, not to come out and say Black Lives Matter, that's a travesty. How can you not favor and support of all the players that you've recruited to come there, that are part of that big cash cow on campus, that brings in money, that builds buildings on campus. It's a travesty for not to come out and fully support. To sit back and be oblivious to what has happened, to be insensitive. After George Floyd, to walk around with a T-shirt that says "Football Matters," that's unacceptable.
You're talking about Dabo Swinney at Clemson, yep, and totally, yeah. You got to be accountable. You got to be accountable.
And hopefully they have made a change, but the change has to, it has to be genuine. And I think now, for those that are saying that they are woke, let's see. The seeing is in the policies. The seeing is in how programs operate. The way these programs are operating right now is systemic racism.
Kevin, what's your thoughts? And the Mad Dog will come to you on that one.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this, those coaches that are woke and that run programs where the kids, truly believe that their contribution is, the difference between winning and losing, no matter how big and how small, and those kids that are bought in, those kids that are having that experience. Look, kids aren't stupid. Kids know who's got their back, okay? So when those kids get recruited, they're going to ask the kids that are there about your coaches. And look, the programs, some of the programs necessarily have great coaches, and players are going to go there anyway because they're trying to get to the league. But a lot of these programs will get better because their coaches are woke, and they've created a culture that welcomes and supports, all types of, different personalities and kids. So I think some of those programs are going to get better because they're going to get more kids, and more quality kids into their programs, because, that communication at this point, since it's been put out there on Front Street, it's like, you can't not be about Black Lives Matter. You can't look at your locker room and look at 60%, or more of your locker room is African American and not say that Black Lives Matter. Like you said, I mean, that's, you call it out. You have to be upfront with it. And I think we're going to see a lot of calling out and a lot of, my personal opinion is this, sometimes I think in an effort to make things right, we overcorrect, right? And sometimes that's good, and a lot of times I'll say, well, you know what, we've undercorrected for so long. Overcorrecting, it's okay for a little while, but that's the thing, right? But most of us, if you talk to us, we're proud people, we're good people. We don't want to be overcorrected. You know what? You just make the rules the same for me and you. That's all. Hey, I grew up with the mentality, and I told my son this, and it's funny, and as he's growing up, going to private schools, going on ski trips, and doing privileged things because I was blessed to do something that was lucrative and could give him the life that I didn't have. It's like he grew up knowing, I'm like, hey, dude, you got to work twice as hard to get half as far. Come on, saying I'm giving you a head start in life, but no, you got to get it. look at who you are, look at where you're living, look at the reality of the world we live in. And, you know, these kids, like I said, these kids these days they're bold and they're in charge, man. And like I said, programs are going to reflect that. You're going to see a lot of coaches that are going to be woke. I mean, look, when I see people like Dan Mullen, you know, rocking the Jays and being cool and trying to take up the torch, the one thing about it, man, the kids love him. Okay, kids will tell you the truth inside of programs about different coaches, and some programs are going to get fat, and a lot of coaches are going to get exposed.
Yeah. Hey, Doc, going to you. I mean, this is right up your alley with all these kids that you've coached and had, you know, come through your program, and this is probably one for you that you have had to call out coaches that didn't take care of players or didn't do the right thing. I know you and I have had those conversations before where you've had to go man to man and they cower down from you. So tell us about what that's like and what you've heard from those young men as they come into your office.
Well, what you got to understand is I don't know whether Harvey said it or BJ said it. There's a willful ignorance of knowing exactly what goes on with your kids. You know, and the bottom line is any coach now that takes the time to learn about their teammates, they learn about their players, especially their Black players, they'll learn more about them. They'll become closer to them. And so it's a great opportunity for them to make those bonds stronger. If they don't, as Kevin just said, the programs won't get any better, and the kids will tell, because kids tell now. The bottom line is you a coach can stand in front of you. You can say whatever you want to say. When they pull those guys aside, they man, tell me what's real. What's really going on? What is this guy about? You know, what is my coach about? What kind of person is he? You know, is he somebody you can trust? I mean, and this can build a better trusting bond with a lot of kids and their coaches. You know, because as was said also before, as those I think it was Hardy talked about how they come in your house and they tell you, you know, some great things about their kid and what you're going to do for your kid. You got to make sure that they're going to go that extra mile for your child. You know, they say they will, but will they? And the kids know as soon as they get back, because you spend so much time recruiting kids that once you get them to campus, you have to kind of de-recruit them a little bit, you know, to calm them down a little bit because they think they're the most important person in the organization. But the bottom line is they're a member of the team and they should be treated fairly, and they should get a chance to do everything that anybody else in that team would do. So it's a perfect opportunity right now with all the things that are going on for the coaches, and we use the term woke, to wake up, or for guys to say, hey, you know, have your team meet to find out what's important to guys. You know, get the committees together, you know, get those guys together, you know, so they can find out what exactly can I do to make this program better. You know, what exactly can my coaches do? To make this thing better.
I'm going to say this: the willful ignorance came from my wife, who was texting me, but so she put that out. I put it through her, from her to us. I will say this: there's a couple of people there's a couple of people that comment. Brett Badger commented that that people want the police to admit the wrongdoing before they ask about ongoing investigation. Also, Tony Wilson comment, until COVID solution, there will be no sports as we have known it. The NCAA should put pressure on Congress. One thing we'll do when we come back on the other side, we'll talk about the mental health of these young athletes, whether it's college, high school, pro, because I think that's the one thing that was sorely missing with a lot of us that we're seeing now has to be there, and you have to make sure, especially coming out of COVID. It's Chopping It Up with Buck, special edition live. We'll be right back.
How you guys doing? It's Artavius Scott here. The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, you know, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. And I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. You can go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get you a drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, if I got something like that, I can just go.
No sugar, no crash. Thin Energy. Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love.
Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available.
Visit PainStopCBD.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
How you guys doing? It's Artavis Scott here.
Live it. Thin Energy.
The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, you know, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. And I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. You can go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get you a drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, if I got something like that, I can just go.
No sugar, no crash.
DJ can't stop. We're back. Chopping it up with Buck. That's all right. We were talking about Harvey. You said everybody was scared to go across the room. Like I said, Harvey and Ken Harvey was talking about KC at the top, Mad Dog down at the bottom. Before we left, and this is one that's been really nice to see from a football perspective, because I have seen what football can do to grown men, but also college guys. And I think the mental health aspect that we don't talk much about has to play a role when these guys get back to school. There are a lot of programs now on campus that they tout that they're doing a much better job. But I just want to get your guys' take, because I think all of these things we're doing with these Zoom meetings and everything else has been very good for all of us. But when you get back into the real world and it's not this camaraderie, this is kind of our locker room here. What for those players is it going to be like from a mental health perspective, just processing all this, still saying, okay, Black Lives Matters, but I got to come out here and I got a ball, because I'll get Hardy to come across the middle and knock me out, or BJ, or whoever, you know, who's playing now. When you lock in, what does that mean? And Mad Dog, I'm going to come to you, because you are basically a psychologist and a psychiatrist and a social worker. Strength and conditioning coaches have to do all of that. Tell us what that's going to look like for these young men when they get back on their respective campuses or in their locker rooms.
I've been fortunate to be able to be all of those things you said, you know, just a second ago about the psychologist, psychiatrist, or whatever, you know, big brother, uncle, whatever it takes to get it done. All these kids come from different backgrounds, so we have to understand that we need to do everything we can to help support them. I think that the mental health thing is so important when they see, you know, whether they're grandparents or whomever they live with at home, you got to find out whether who in their family had this disease or was associated with this disease, how many friends that they lost during this time, what their ideas are about the social situation. So everything that we say on this podcast, they should also be able to talk to their coaches about. And every coach, I think every position coach has to go through it so they can figure out what's really going on with my player. You know, how is my player feeling because he's been sequestered in one.
I think we lost you, Dog. Lost the audio for Dog.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. Go ahead. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, what's going on in his mind?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you. Go ahead. We got you loud and clear.
Hold.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hey, BJ, we'll come
Can
to
you
you
hear me
on
now?
that.
I think you know, Coach is right. Mad Dog is 100%, and I think the necessary protocols should involve one, taking that player's temperature when he comes into that facility, but also sitting down with them individually and talking them through this and asking them about their experiences during this COVID-19 quarantine. What did you do? What was your environment? What did that consist of? And who were you with? And what your support system? Who were they? I think you need to have those myriad conversations. And luckily, in today's society, from a mental health standpoint, it's been destigmatized. When we were balling, you couldn't bring it up. And you got concussed or whatever out there, as we were just joking during the break, you stayed your behind back, stayed out there. And so now you can have that conversation. And the coaches and these trainers and doctors who are some of the independent variety can pull a player. So there's nothing to be afraid of from the standpoint of I'm gonna lose my job or they're gonna think less of me because I've sustained a hard hit here and I can't go anymore. So that's the great thing about mental health. And this is an initiative that's on the mind of a lot of these universities, not a lot, all of them, in every sports league and team.
Yeah. Harvey, what about you? I mean, it's one thing that's a hot topic for me, and I know your son being in the league now, but also playing college football and you recruiting at Illinois. What was that? Because that kind of was the start of all this starting to come up and people talking more about mental health and how that would help young men or young.
Yeah, I think to echo what BJ has just said, and also what Mad Dog has just said, I think it's going to be important, not only on the physical side of it and the physical health side, but I think it's going to be of the utmost importance to sit down with each player, not so much even with a position coach, but with the trained professional, a mental health professional, because of, man, what has been transpiring for your Black athlete to be sitting there witnessing George Floyd, the witnessing these things, and then how do they process that? They I think there needs to be, when you talk about mental health, I think that as much as anything, having professionals there to help these kids process and work through a lot of what has happened on the racial side, that I think is going to be very important to them.
Yeah. Kev, I'll come to you. I agree with you, Hardy. I think the one thing we all know is, and this is the hard part for those young people. Now, you've put yourself out there, you've led in front, you've got people to think about you mental health wise. You see all these things, 8 minutes and 46 seconds. You see all the stuff that's happened with Breonna Taylor and Philando Castile. I mean, we can just keep naming names. But I think the one thing is, you have to understand too that there's going to be some backlash against you when you walk into that locker room or back on that campus or in that stadium, because you've been a leader. You said, hey, I care about Black people. I care about Black Lives Matter. And I think that's really important. That's why I think, to Hardy, to your point, and all of you guys have said this so far, but Kevin, I want to get your take on what the mental health aspect is going to be for those guys when they have to go back and eventually play.
You know what? That's the thing. We really don't know what it's going to be, but I definitely commend those coaches who are taking those steps to establish that communication and start the conversation now. I only say that because my son's at Dartmouth, and Dartmouth is a wonderful place. And I know, to be a parent, the most important thing you want for your kid when they go off to college is that they found the right place that's going to give them everything they need, that's going to possibly, fuel them through this world. But you want them safe, you want them in a nurturing place, but you want them in a woke place, right? I mean, when Zion was looking at schools, I'm like, dude, he's looking at northern schools. And I'm like, that's fine, stay out of the South. I'm like, I don't care where you go. It's like, but it's like, he went to this quirky place up in New Hampshire in the middle of nowhere. And it is a quirky, progressive, smart thinking place that they were on top of things from ground zero. When all of these incidents took place, their stance was so in favor of the Black community and equality and just empathy and respect and love and doing the right thing. I mean, and Coach Buddy Tevens, you know, I know every dad wants to be able to say that their kid made the right choice when going to play ball somewhere, but he did, because Buddy Tevens, how he has conducted the inner workings of the team, you know, the technology is a wonderful thing. He's via Zoom. They have team meetings and they have meetings with their coaches and position groups and everything else. But man, when this hit, and I'm sure this will come out on social media, and I'm sure, you know, there'll be different coaches who have addressed, you know, this issue, and it'll, you know, we'll put music to it and we'll talk over it, and we'll be talking about this in studio at some point, you know, and we'll see these different examples. But he did this before anyone was looking, and us as parents we were pleasantly surprised to see how he handled that. He had basically got them on and had a complete team meeting, and he's like, I want all of the African Americans players on our team to have the floor. If you're not African American, or if you don't have this experience, shut up and listen and learn something. Learn what your teammates are going through. Learn their life experience. Take a step in your own evolution and educating yourself and becoming a better person. And he spearheaded this charge. And I was like, man, you know, how comforting from the head coach of an organization to send that message down through all of his team that this will not be tolerated. Yes, of course. Yeah. Like, we are with what the law says, and that's it. I mean, you know, there is this transparency. We're, you know, it's not about who you are or where you come from. It's about, you know, the contribution to make this team better. You know, that's what we're all about here, and becoming better young men. And so that's a great message, you know, to all the coaches out there. You know, you have a unique opportunity, because the locker room means so much to these kids, and they're right now, my son is starving to be back in the locker room. So these coaches, when they do get these kids, what a powerful tool for social change going forward they can have just on these young lives, and going forward, setting the example.
Yeah, that's real good, Kevin. I know, Mad Dog, you were talking. Did you want to finish your thoughts on what you were saying about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
I agree with everything that's been said, you know, and I just think that the mental health aspect of it is extremely one of the most important parts of it. And as Kevin just said, you need to have mental health professionals that interview your kids and help your kids, because these kids have gone through some traumatic things that none of us had ever gone through before until now. So since we've gone through it, we need to hear how they feel and what triggers them to make them be better. And the bottom line is, you're trying to put the best product on the field. You're trying to put the best athlete on the field, but you got to make sure that athlete is mentally stable too, because there may be some tremendous feelings on the inside that some of these kids are feeling. Like I hear when I talk to some of these guys on the inside, that you don't even know that they moved up to the surface inside them, you know, and they're feeling the wrong way because they're getting so aggressive about how they see everybody being treated. You know, that, hey, this was not you, you know, so that happened there at this given time. So let's not reflect and stay in that mode. Let's move to 2020, January 25th, 2020. You know, let's move forward, you know, and if you can get them to move forward to see what it's going to be like for themselves and their kids as the time go on, so their next generation won't have to repeat the same thing we're going through.
Well, Mad Dog, you bring us to the last question I'm going to ask all of you guys. What are your hopes for the remainder of 2020 on all fronts? I mean, there's so much that can happen, and we can do this again. I know, BJ, you said you're going to be first, so you don't have to do push-ups or run stadium steps. So I'm going to let you go first.
You got up down.
Yeah, we're going to bear crawls and all that. But what are your hopes for the remainder of 2020 on all fronts? I mean, it's just –
At this point, Buck, I'm just hoping to survive it. I mean, what else can happen? 2020 has been you know what? I mean, come on. And we're just halfway through this bad boy. I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
I never envisioned navigating something like this. So if we can win in 2020 just by surviving it, we've done enough. And we can handle anything that comes down, you know, comes our way moving forward. I just want everyone to be safe, as safe as possible. And I want people to take this thing serious. I mean, it's taking lives. We've got upticks here in Florida. And Harvey talked about there in California, in Texas, where Coach Mad Dog is. You know, the upticks there. So it's scaling the wrong direction currently. And I just want folks from the highest levels of our government to the lowest level to start being seriously considerate about this. And we got folks going nuts here, throwing conspiracy theories around just about wearing a mask. What the hell is wrong with you? The mask is to protect me from you. Just wear it if you're 20 minutes you're in the supermarket or wherever else you are in public. Why is that such an arduous task? Can't we display a little bit more humanity? How about that? I'll end with that. Just display a little bit more humanity towards your fellow man.
I like that. Kevin, what about you?
Yeah, more of the same. I mean, the thing that really intrigues me about, what's going on right now, just publicly, is the lack of empathy, on one hand. But I think on the other hand, there are a lot of people who have taken up the torch, just awareness wise, just not only from a race standpoint, but also from a support of this whole COVID thing, because we are all in it together. I mean, you can't, this is not a white, black, rich, poor. COVID doesn't care who you are. And there's really, we haven't figured out the rhyme or reason of how it works. So, that's what I want. I want everyone to, to try and be safe but more than anything, I think while we have our kids at home, I think we have a unique opportunity as well to, this is like empty nest bonus time for, for all of us, with our kids. But this is a changing world right now, because we have two major things going on at once, overlapping problems. And Brian, you said this earlier, yes, no matter if this is a positive change or, where we go from here, this marks a time in history and so many lives. We're going to remember where you were, what you did, and where we went from here, whether you got better or worse, or what happened to the country or what happened to people and, our relationships. We will remember this benchmark in time going from here. So yeah, definitely hunker down.
Harvey, what about you?
I think, just to echo the two previous comments, I think just surviving this year would be great.
Yeah.
And then from there, with surviving this coronavirus, seeing effective change as it relates to social justice, those things, I think, I think those are the two things that I'd mark down on my list right now. If I had one, of course, it changes every day. But
that's okay. As of right now, yeah.
As of right now, I'd say those two things.
Yeah.
As Kevin just said, we're all going to remember where we were, what we were doing at this point in time, and for us is to, for me, I know is to hug family tight and tell friends and distant family that I love them, and keep spreading that, and hopefully we'll get through this together, and we'll be smiling on the other end.
All right, thanks, Harvey. What about you, Mad Dog? What would you like for the remainder of 2020?
Right, Buck, as I said, and I always tell you, we have no days that are promised to us. How many Sundays do you have left? I don't know how many Sundays I have left, nor how many Sundays anybody else on this board has left. So the bottom line is we do everything we can to make them all bright and sunny days, make the best out of every day you have. When you look at what's going on in our country, as we've been doing, you pray that everybody stays safe, everybody stays healthy. We find a peaceful ground to stand on, and we find a common ground for everybody to come together. Because the bottom line, all of us bleed red blood, and all of us, have a stake in what happens in this country every single day. As far as the athletes and that kind of stuff up there, got much love for them all. You want them to be healthy and safe first, That's the first and foremost thing. You know, if everybody's gonna be healthy, you play the game. If you're not healthy, you don't play the game. You know, so I mean, I know there's money involved and all the other things that happen, you know, with administration. But the bottom line, if your kids are healthy, you know, we send them to school for a particular reason. That's to get a great education, you know, and to graduate and then play a sport. So there's a lot of things that out there that get in the way of all that. So we got to make sure we keep them on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, I echo what all you guys said, Brian. BJ, I want to continue to live through 2020. Kevin, all of what you guys are saying. The one thing that I look at is if you wear a mask, you can still see your eyes, and your eyes tell you your soul. My daughter was really young when I learned she could draw, and she's great at drawing eyes. If your mouth is covered, I still can see your soul. So let's hopefully hope that people, to your point, Mad Dog, live more Sundays, they pray up, they do everything they can, and I'd like to continue to see this outpouring of support for people that look like us, and not just from us, but for us, so we can go forward. So I guys, this is why I put this together. I can remember sitting out on my back porch and talking to Kevin. I said, I got to get guys on. Guys that'll tell their story and we'll joke and laugh. This is a little more serious. I'll have you back on when we can talk about each other, talk about some of those intimate moments and plays and in the huddle. But I think right now our people need to hear us, and we need to know that they know we are there with them. So I want to thank you very much. I want to thank our guests, Kevin Carter, Hardy Nickerson, Jeff Madden, Mad Dog, BJ Brian Jones. I want to thank you for watching. This has been a live edition of Chopping It Up with Buck. We thank you. We'll see you on the other side.
How you guys doing? It's Artavius Scott here. The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, you know, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. And I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. Go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get you a drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, when I got something like that, I can just go.
No sugar, no crash. Thin Energy. Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love.
Our products